Hello, everybody out in government secrets land. We have an exciting episode for you today, folks. It's going to be a big bang boozle, a big doozy. Doesn't make any sense what I'm saying, but you get it. You kind of get it. Thank you, everybody watching on my YouTube, on Lee Camp's YouTube. Of course, if you are watching on one of our YouTubes, please subscribe to the other guy's YouTube because that helps all of our analytics. And of course, people watching on the Rockfin. Folks, know that if you sign up for Rockfin Premium, you get access to all of my premium content, Lee Camps, and everybody on Rockfin's platform. And we have bonus. You can see scrolling right below is the patreon.com/government secrets, where we have bonus content. We have a bonus clip this week that we already pre-recorded. We can't do it live immediately following the show, but we will be posting it immediately following the show. As we usually do, the Patreon bonus is what we call a Twigs of This Week in Government Secrets. And it's going to involve, I don't know, some fun stuff that happened in front of the UN 20 years ago, about a country in the Middle East. When America was once again telling the truth and being honest to the world. But let's get into it. Let's do our episode today. Here we go, citizens. Like, share, subscribe. Holly and Blaze Everwolf are our moderators. And on whatever platform you're watching, and sharing this out on social media always helps us, of course. So, and all those analytical things help. Here we go. Hello, everybody. My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching and listening to Government Secrets with the two most censored comedians in the world, Lee Camp and Graham Elwood.
Oh my God, Graham, what are you doing watching me through my computer?
I love it. I just like
awkward.
Watching. Hi, Lee. What are you wearing? Can I comb your beard?
Please do that. Why have they not created that technology? Come on, Apple. Why can't you comb people's beard through the screen?
I just want to comb your hair. I want to comb your beard, Lee. I just want to make sure your beard hair is nice.
And I want to fix your Superman curl, which is really failing today.
It really fell apart. I don't know what.
I don't even know what it is anymore.
It's more just like a weird semicolon thing.
You know what it is? It's Count Chocula today, I think.
It is. We are very
Count Chocula.
We are very Count Chocula, whatever. Yeah, it's very Count Chocula today. So, folks, we have a fantastic episode. We're going to talk about all the fun things that happened from Agent Orange. And there's more secrets involving an Agent Orange. If you don't know about that, we're going to uncover that today. And Lee's going to discuss.
And we don't often do things that happen like today or yesterday, right. But this time we are, because we now have the play-by-play of how the U.S. bombed the Nord Stream pipelines. And it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I know. Normally we aren't like, we got to cover breaking news. We don't really do that on their show. We usually do it on our other shows, but it's so relevant to everything we discuss on this show because this is a massive government secret.
Yeah.
It's something all of us sort of anti-war lefties suspected when this first happened.
We all said like, oh, it's ridiculous that Russia would bomb their own pipeline. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. But beyond that, it's like none of us had any proof or sources or...
No, all we had was there's no motive for Russia to do this. It's a revenue stream for them. Why would they blow up their own and hurt their own money?
Massive revenue stream, and they spent billions of dollars to build those pipelines. Yeah.
So why would they do it? So, Lee, why don't you break down everything the United States did to blow up the Nord Stream pipeline and government secrets, segment number 1. America doing more good in the world.
All right, so this is coming from Seymour Hersh, which many people may know. He is a Pulitzer Prize winning. He's considered one of the best journalists America has ever created. This is the guy who revealed the My Lai massacre, among other things, in Vietnam. He covered Watergate. But slowly, over time, our media became more and more captured by the corporate state and corporate America. And on top of that, he, refused to kind of settle back, like Woodward and Bernstein have settled back into like we're just going to go after Donald Trump, or we're not really going to harm the systems. And so they're allowed on the mainstream media, whereas Seymour Hersh is no longer, like, he had incredible reporting on how Syria didn't use chemical weapons, but it was like in a German newspaper because he won't be published in New York Times, Washington Post. He worked for the New York Times for years, Washington Post. They won't publish it. So this is coming from his Substack, which is
that right there. No, you're right. It is sad that this amazing journalist is so, I mean, like the way we have, but he has on a much bigger level of being throttled, censored. And this is how they censor him. It's just like, oh, we can't bring him on the show anymore. Or I don't know what the exact smears have been said about him, but I can only imagine it's somewhere in the neighborhood of like, oh, he's gone off the rails, or he's this or that. And it's just that classic thing. And we talk about it in the Patreon bonus segment of neoliberals. You can be critical of like when Republicans do stuff or whatever, but now you can't be, when Democrats do awful things. This is going to reveal, this is Joe Biden's presidency is happening. This is what this happened. So,
right. And yeah. And this, if this is an act by the United States, which it is an act of war, and it is putting us closer to nuclear war than we've been since the Cuban Missile Crisis. I mean, it's fucking insane is what it is.
Yeah.
So last June, Navy divers operating under the cover of a widely publicized midsummer NATO exercise known as Balltops 22 planted the remotely triggered explosives.
I'm sorry, Balltop 22 is the name of my OnlyFans account, but please go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was so tempted to make a ball tops joke, and I couldn't come up with a good one, but I'll send it over your way.
There's no way the word ball tops 22 can be read on this show, and at least one of us doesn't make it. I mean,
I think we'd actually lose a lot of viewers if we skipped over that joke.
Really, the chat would blow. Really, you guys are just gonna let ball tops 22 just float by? No one's gonna say anything.
I believe ball tops is actually a description of a certain kind of behavior at an orgy. It's like when they ask you what kind, are you a pitcher? Are you a catcher? I'm a ball tops. Oh, you're a ball tops. Okay.
I'm a ball tops. Yeah. I'm ball tops 22. Oh, okay. Okay. I got it. All right.
So NATO exercise known as Balltops 22 planted the remotely triggered explosives that 3 months later destroyed 3 of the 4 Nord Stream pipelines, according to a source with direct knowledge of the operational planning. 2 of the pipelines, that's the other thing about Seymour Hersh, is he has, since 60 years ago or whatever, he has contacts deep in the Pentagon. And he also revealed how Obama was lying about the way they killed Osama bin Laden. But anyway.
But we can't get into that because Obama's tweets were nice and he was so fun and nice and cuddly. So.
Oh my God, his tweets are so lovable. He's just, what I like is he's like relatable. Like I could have a beer with him.
No.
2 of the pipelines, which were known collectively as Nord Stream 1, had been providing Germany and much of Western Europe with cheap Russian natural gas for more than a decade. A second pair of the pipelines called Nord Stream 2 had been built, but were not yet operational. Most of you know that part. Biden's decision to sabotage the pipelines came after more than 9 months of highly secret back and forth debate inside Washington's national security community about how best to achieve that goal. That is important because if they were debating it for 9 months before it happened, guess what's that puts it before? Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
Wow.
So they were already planning on ways to blow up and stop this pipeline before the invasion.
So you gotta wonder, and I don't know if Seymour Hersh has this direct evidence from his sources inside the Pentagon, and was part of this pre-invasion plan. Did they go, you know what actually would help is if we could somehow spurn Putin into invading, then it gives us more cover under the wars happening in Ukraine. You know what I mean? Like, it's sort of, I don't mean.
The understanding I get from this is that although they weren't thinking if they invade, we can bomb the pipeline, they were thinking if they invade, we can increase sanctions to some crazy level, which would stop the pipeline. So they were thinking, they were trying to help. They were trying to create that invasion. And they thought that Russia was going to invade, but all they would do is take the Donbass region. They did not, from everything I've read, they did not think Russia would go fully for Ukraine. But their hope was Russia would say Donbass is an independent region. They would count it as an invasion. And then the U.S. could put all these sanctions to stop exactly what these pipelines allowed, which was massive cooperation, economic cooperation with France and Germany, and a lot of income for Russia, etc.
Clearly they've been planning, and by they I mean the U.S. State Department and the Biden administration and all the psychos in both parties. I'm really, since this literally just came out, and I haven't seen any coverage of it on CNN or MSNBC. Now maybe yeah,
you haven't been watching enough. It's like they're just wall to wall,
wall to wall.
Yeah. Not the walls they show on the air. It's like a back wall they don't show.
But. It's Democracy Now! Covered it. I'll give Democracy Now!, which can definitely lean neoliberal on many times, but Democracy Now! Had this revelation from Seymour Hersh, and I'm curious too. I'm sure they're going to try to stifle this in Western Europeans' media, but it feels like there's a better opportunity because if I'm living in Western Europe and this comes out, I'm now done. I'm furious. I mean, is this going to cause a ripple effect of like NATO? People are going to be like, we've talked about it, that there's been massive anti-NATO protests in Europe since the fall, which our media doesn't cover at all. But
and even at a higher level, it seems very obvious that Germany did not know anything about this, and Germany knew Germany may have, and I mean the ruling elite of Germany. Germany may have suspected it was the U.S., but I think they didn't have any evidence. They knew the U.S. wanted to stop the pipeline because that was said publicly, but I don't know that this could change something with Germany. I don't know. But.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they're going to try to stifle this as much as they can here, but it's not. You can't stifle this everywhere, and I don't think it's not going to do. Americans aren't going to like get up and mass in the streets and protest. I just don't see them doing that because of this. But I see this happening in Europe where it's already
all out there except you and me. We had to do this live stream, so I'm not on the streets with them. But every American is marching right now,
right? Just like they did when Edward Snowden, and WikiLeaks, right? They're all.
So the pipeline had been a boon for the German economy, which enjoyed an abundance of cheap Russian natural gas. America's political fears were real. Putin would now have an additional and much needed major source of income. The oil and gas is estimated to be upwards of 45% of Russia's income. Mm-hmm. And Germany and the rest of Western Europe would become addicted to low-cost natural gas supplied by Russia while diminishing European reliance on America. And again, this is just more evidence for what many of us have been saying, which is one of the other reasons that this proxy war in Ukraine was created by the U.S. is to stop European cooperation with Russia, because Europe was becoming their own thing a little bit. Like, they didn't need America. I mean, America's a dwindling empire. We're late-stage capitalist, and we're losing our hegemony. And Europe was becoming more independent. And especially Germany and France, the two really biggest powers, they were allying with Russia on certain things and getting their energy there. And And yes, there's a money aspect too. America gets to now sell all that oil and gas to Europe, but I think that's a smaller issue of like putting them back in their place as like vassal states to the United States.
Yeah, and to the point of America's now profiting. I remember I did a video on this roughly a year ago, where Biden said, we got to sanction Russia. And he said in his speech, like, now Western Europe can buy American natural gas. And it was revealed that our costs are more expensive. And I mean,
yeah.
And here we are. And when I was in Europe in October, when we were doing shows, they were like, they had just announced that, I was in Paris, and a friend of mine in Paris is like, oh, they just announced we can't have, it's in centigrade, but the equivalent of our heat over 67 degrees in the winter. And now, I mean, just here in LA, I just got my bill for gas, and all across Southern California, there's like protests outside the gas company, outside of City Hall. Like, there's this huge protest, like the gas prices are through the roof, and the gas company cited some whatever Ukraine. So you see, like, I'm bringing all this up to show this is why they did this, because it's like, oh, now we can make Western Europe not think they won't be financially independent anymore. We're also going to cripple Russia's revenue stream, and we can overcharge everybody for our natural gas. And you said and so all these sanctions in Russia. So who's being hurt by America's sanctions and everything and blowing up the Nord Stream? Western Europe. Oh, and Americans. Americans are being hurt by this. So
meanwhile, the ruble has gained 8% on the dollar and something like far more than that on the euro.
No. Oh, right. And I've talked to two different friends of mine who live in Russia, and they're like, we don't really feel the sanctions here. We don't, like, the Russian economy is doing well. People are, one guy said that some of his Russian friends, young men, guys, are like, have split. They're like, they moved out of Russia because they didn't want to be drafted into the war. And they're like, I don't want to go fight in Ukraine. So there's some of that, but there's also a lot of Russia that are being propagandized as well. But overall, the US sanctions it's not affecting Russia. It's affecting Western Europe and us.
Yep. So, Nord Stream 1 was dangerous enough, but Nord Stream 2, if approved by German regulators, would double the cheap gas. Yeah, I did that. Months earlier, after the fall of Afghanistan, German Prime Minister Scholz had publicly endorsed French President Macron's call for a more autonomous European foreign policy. We can't fucking have that, can we? In a speech in Prague, clearly suggesting less reliance on Washington. So yet again, you're seeing all of the reasons that the U.S. needed this proxy war and needed to destroy Russia's ability to deliver gas to Europe. As long as Europe remained independent on the pipelines with cheap natural gas, Washington was afraid that countries like Germany would be reluctant to supply Ukraine with money and weapons it needed to defeat Russia. Boy, that would be horrible, right? If we didn't have other people enjoying, and partaking in our fucking megalomaniacal, sociopathic bloodlust. It was so at this unsettled moment that Biden authorized Jake Sullivan to bring together an interagency group to come up with a plan in December 2021, 2 months before the war in Ukraine began, if you don't count the 2014 coup and the killing of 15,000 in Donbass region. Jake Sullivan convened a meeting of a newly formed task force, including the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the CIA, State and Treasury departments, and asked for recommendations on how to respond to Putin's impending invasion. What became clear, and also this is another key point that he doesn't make here because that's not his purview, but so they get together in December 2021 knowing Putin's going to invade. Again, they might have thought it was just the Donbass, but they knew he was going to invade. He was amassing troops. It was clear. I didn't know that, but they knew that. And if you are a nuclear power and you know that this invasion could happen and you know Ukrainians could die and you know we could put us on the brink of nuclear war, don't you say, hey, let's sit down and fucking come to a conclusion that involves no invasion and just peace? But they never do that. They don't want that. they don't in any way signal with Russia, we want to solve this before invasion begins.
No, invasion's good for business. I mean, pushing Russia into an invasion is like, let's back Putin into a corner so he has to do this. And again, they underestimated him. They thought he would just maybe invade Donbass again. They didn't think he was going to invade the whole country and turn it into a big war. And it's like, let's find the peaceful solution isn't anywhere on anyone's list in the Pentagon or the State Department or whatever idiot is in charge of whatever moron party is currently running this dumb, awful hellhole called America. And it's like, these guys, I'm really curious, and I don't, maybe I'm being overly optimistic here, so I don't want to hold out hope, because you can't hold out any hope for anything in this country. But if Europe could go, oh, we're done with these guys. We're not doing this. We're out. And Zelensky could suddenly then pivot back to his pre-invasion, his not even pre-invasion, his Boris Johnson meeting of no, we want to go to the negotiation table. Yeah, we want to go to the peace table, which Putin was like, yeah, all right, we'll go. Yeah. Everyone was willing to do that until Boris Johnson came in and did his Benny Hill yakety sax. But we want to put missiles in Ukraine that'll antagonize Russia
at the behest of the United States.
Yeah, right. And so I don't know. This could be the thing, because I've been watching this, and I know we've talked about it. Is this could be the thing that really isolates America. America wants to think, oh, Russia's isolated. It's kind of not. And everyone's a little sick of America, but just has to deal with it. And you're making it, you're blowing up a pipeline.
That's the other thing. And it signals to the entire world, oh, this is allowable even when you're not at war with a country. Yeah. You can just go around blowing up their infrastructure. And it's not war. That sounds like an act of war.
It's a complete act of war. I mean, if Russia did this to one of our pipelines, that would be it, man. It would be,
nuclear weapons would fly, it seems like.
At the very least.
So honestly, we should all be sitting here thanking Russia just with everything we have that they didn't then respond with a nuclear missile.
I mean, at the very least, if Russia blew up one of our pipelines, we would, at the very least, there would be 200,000 American troops, NATO troops on the border of Russia right now, today. Like, there would be a draft enacted, and America would be like, it's about time, we're going to settle this old score.
Or maybe those Boston Dynamics robot dog things.
Right. They would just unleash
a lot of those. Just like 200,000 of those.
We would go bananas if Russia did this to us. We would go absolutely bananas. And it's like, this could be the thing that makes us completely isolated from the world.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
I don't think
it
so.
is utterly insane. So you've got the secret meeting, right, of planning commission of Joint Chiefs of Staff, CIA, State and Treasury. Everyone involved understood the stakes. Seymour Hersh's source said they understood this is not kiddie stuff. If the attack were traceable to the United States, it's an act of war. Throughout all the scheming, the source told him, some working guys in the CIA and State Department were still saying, don't do this. It's stupid and will be a political nightmare if it comes out. Yeah, you think?
You think? Really?
Nevertheless, go ahead.
I was just going to say the same joke. Like, this will be a political nightmare if it comes out. I don't know. It seems like.
Nevertheless, in early 2022, the CIA working group reported back to Sullivan's group by saying we have a way to blow up the pipelines. February 7th, Biden defiantly said in a press conference, and so several in the working group were shocked by this. Biden goes out in the press conference, and I have this ready to play if you want to play it.
Let's play this. I'm sure this will be a really smart, coherent speech, Joe Biden.
Many people have seen this line before, but he's asked about stopping Nord Stream 2 and how would you stop it?
Again, then there will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it.
How will you do that exactly? Since the project and control of the project is within Germany's control.
We will, I promise you, we'll be able to do it.
Schönen Dank für.
And look at that smirk.
Wow. I mean, if I'm living in Germany, I'm like, we're done. Like, we're done with America. I mean, I promise. This is the president of the United States saying, I promise you. And she asked this very poignant question: how? It's within Germany's control. How is the United States going to do this?
Yeah, it's not yours to stop. Yeah. Wow. So, but I found this part really interesting. So apparently Victoria Nuland, she's the queen of all things Ukraine, helped create the US-backed coup there, the kind of part of the mastermind group that came up with funding and arming Nazis. Anyway, she also apparently said either that day or the following day in front of the press that they were going to stop the pipeline if Russia invaded. And with Biden, many people have played that clip and go, oh, Biden slipped up. Oh, wow. I can't believe Biden said that. Wow, he shouldn't have said that. And it seemed like a slip or like just poor politics that he revealed that. But there's a reason that it likely was revealed in that way. The plan to blow up Nord Stream 1 and 2, once it was said publicly, like Biden just did, I mean, he didn't say blow up, but he said stop. Once it was said publicly, suddenly that downgraded the planning from top secret to a covert operation. Oh, sorry. Downgraded it from a covert operation. And once it was no longer a top secret covert operation, it no longer required Congress to be informed. Congress would have never had to approve it. We don't go to Congress for approval for anything. But apparently, when there's a legal requirement that if there's a operation that involves U.S. military support, a classified intelligence operation with U.S. military support, Congress must be informed. But now that it had been said publicly, they didn't have to inform Congress anymore. And if obviously if he had to inform Congress, then someone at Congress would have leaked it.
Right.
So it would have become quite evident that the U.S. was planning to blow up those pipelines. And so now it seems that Biden and Nuland were sent out to specifically do that on purpose so they would not have to inform Congress.
Yes, that makes total sense. And I would also add, there's probably a little bit of arrogance in that of just like, yeah, we're doing, like, it just, to me, just feels very mobbish. Like,
yeah,
it's going to be a real shame if the Nord Stream pipeline. Yeah, I mean, pipelines fall down flights of stairs all the time, Lee. It'd be a real shame.
I noticed your little girl was really cute playing on that swing today.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's just like, it's, you know what I mean? It'd be a real shame if the pipeline was just coming home work one day and a couple of guys jumped it. You know what I mean? It's crime all the time on the streets. You never know what can happen.
So then there's a little bit about other countries' knowledge. Norway was the perfect place to base the operation. Currently, the supreme commander of NATO is Jens Stoltenberg, a committed anti-communist who served as Norway's, and obviously anti-communist means also hates Russia for having been communist in the past.
Right.
Who served as Norway's prime minister for 8 years before moving to a high NATO post with American backing. So America and he get along quite well. So he was all for it. The Norwegian Navy was quick to find the perfect spot in the shallow waters of the Baltic Sea, a few miles off Denmark's Bornholm Island. The pipelines ran along a seafloor that was only 260 feet deep, which is not a bad range for the divers, who, operating from a Norwegian Alta-class mine hunter, and could then plant shaped C4 charges on the 4 pipelines. So they recruited the very best divers in the world were sent to CIA headquarters on this top secret mission. The Norwegians joined the Americans in insisting that some senior officials in Denmark and Sweden had to be briefed in general terms about the diving activity. And it served the purpose that if Sweden or Denmark were to notice something going on, the ones who had been briefed on it could get in the way of it actually being reported to the chain of command. So basically, you put a couple of people in there to go, no, that's nothing, and stop actual reporting on it. But it's unclear what Sweden and Denmark were told. It's possible they were told different things as to what was going on. So then they had to decide when to do it. Well, every June for the past 21 years, the American Sixth Fleet, whose flagship is based in Gaeta, Italy, has sponsored a major NATO exercise in the Baltic Sea involving scores of Allied ships throughout the region. The current exercise would be known as Baltops 22. Your favorite, Graham?
Baltops 22. Oh, they come up
Your
with the
balls
greatest.
are the tops.
I've got 22 of the top balls that the world has ever seen.
So they decided this would be the perfect cover for planting the mines. But here's the thing. Initially, the plan was to plant the mines during these NATO exercises and then basically blow them, like to put a timer on them and so that they would blow 2 days later. And suddenly, towards the last second, Washington has second thoughts on them exploding 2 days later because they'd go, that seems kind of obvious it was us if there was a NATO exercise there and then the pipelines explode 2 days later. I love that idea just occurred to them like in the last days of wait a second, that might look bad.
This seems like, we're the ones clearly with the motive to end this pipeline flow, bringing money in.
Tons of NATO ships going nuts through the Baltic, doing all kinds of crazy shit, and then the pipelines explode a day later.
Feels like some might think that's a weird thing.
Must have been an octopus.
It must have been. Look, Lee, octopus all the time make their own bombs. We've seen it. They have all these. They've got 8 legs.
Actually, what it is sometimes they eat dairy and they actually explode. Dairy's not good for them, so they will blow up themselves. Yeah.
So we really need to get to the culprit who was giving the octopuses milkshakes. I mean, this is what it sounds like.
That's why you should be vegan.
Thank you.
So the White House asked whether they could create a way to blow the pipelines later on command. The C4 attached to the pipelines, they decided, would be triggered by a sonar buoy dropped by a plane on short notice. But the procedure involved the most advanced signal processing technology that they had. So on September 26, 2022, so a few months after June, a Norwegian Navy surveillance plane made a seemingly routine flight and dropped a sonar buoy. The signal spread underwater, initially Nord Stream 2, then Nord Stream 1. A few hours later, the high-powered C4 explosives triggered 3 of the 4 pipelines, blew up and were out of commission. Within a few minutes, pools of methane gas that remained in the shutter pipeline could be seen spreading on the water's surface, and the world learned that something irreversible had just taken place. Seymour Hersh then points out that in the aftermath, American media acted like, well, it's just an unsolved mystery. What could have happened? Russia was repeatedly cited as the likely culprit, which of course made no sense with zero motive. A few months later, when it emerged that Russian authorities were quietly getting estimates for the cost of repair to the pipelines, the New York Times described the news as complicating theories about who was behind the attack. It seems kind of odd that they're looking to repair it if they're the ones that blew it up.
I love. Let's just bury it in vagueness. Complicated theory. Look, there's a lot of. I mean, it's gonna take years to sort through this. No, not really. The U.S. wanted the pipeline stopped. Biden said as much, and then they had a NATO naval operation right above it. It's a wiggy, just a complicated.
Probably octopus.
Again, the octopus theory, I think, best one.
Octopus theory always works. And apparently, Seymour Hersh says none of the media cited the fact that Biden and Newland had said publicly they would stop the pipeline.
Yeah.
Here's the last thing. Asked at a press conference in September about the consequences of the worsening energy crisis in Europe, Blinken said it's a potentially good. He said, it's a tremendous opportunity to once and for all remove the dependence on Russian energy and thus to take away from Putin the weaponization of energy as a means of advancing his imperial designs. That's very significant, and that offers tremendous strategic opportunity for the years to come. But meanwhile, we're determined to do everything we possibly can to make sure the consequences of all this are not borne by citizens in our countries or, for that matter, around the world. So now you actually have the Secretary of State publicly saying this is a good thing. By the way, I should mention that when asked for comment, the White House spokesperson and the CIA spokesperson said this is completely false.
Well, that's weird. The CIA
Isn't that
never
weird?
lies. I mean, Lee, can you name one time? We've done 112 of these episodes. Name one time the CIA is lying. Name one.
Hold on. Let me type it into Google.
Like any statement the CIA ever gives, the media, if they were actually doing their jobs, would go, just the CIA said this, and then halfway through reading it, there should just be a stamp that just goes bullshit, like just right across the screen. There's no.
I mean, the idea that anything ever said by the CIA or really the White House spokesperson as well is ever believed is beyond me.
Beyond. And it's always read by the corporate media as like, well, I mean, they gave a statement. So, oh, right. Yes. That's it's like when there's some whatever recall from a product that hurt people, the corporate always gives a statement of our core values would never. Yeah, bitch, but it happened. You know what? You did it because you're greedy. Shut up. Like, just I don't want to hear it. It's just automatic lies coming from them.
Yeah. It's so, here it is. Like, it's one of these things, as with chemical weapons in Syria, as with WMD, as with Russiagate. It's like you can say almost from day one, if you're fucking intelligent and you study our media and you study the way our politicians lie and everything, you can say from almost day one, this is what likely happened. But you often don't get the details till months, maybe years later. I just did a live stream 2 weeks ago or a week ago on even more revelations about how Russiagate has collapsed, right? Thanks to the Twitter files. Titter files actually is better, but the Twitter files and revealing that internally in Twitter, the CEOs and the executives were saying, hey, this Russian bot thing is bullshit, but what do we do about it? And they didn't say that publicly. They said it privately. But you don't get this information until months later, and your mainstream media never reports it, just acts like the lie is the truth and goes about their business.
And anyone that goes, wait a minute, no, always, they're a little loose cannon, they're weird, or what? I don't know what they got an agenda, and it's like, what about your agenda? Like, it's just gaslighting 101. Everything that they do is gaslighting. So, all right, buddy, is that it?
That's it.
We blew up Nord Stream pipeline. That was segment number 1.
And it only gets lighter from here.
Oh, now we're going to go into more fun. We're going to do segment number 2, Agent Orange. So as I was looking for something to discuss on today's show, I came across Agent Orange. And most of you might know what Agent Orange is. If you're younger, you might not. So I'm going to just tell you what Agent Orange is. But we're going to go into how there was more to it than that, as is the case.
And we've mentioned it on the show, but we've never done a deeper dive.
No. So it was a chemical herbicide and defoliant, one of the tactical use rainbow herbicides that the military used during the Vietnam War from 1961 to 1971. And it's a mixture of 2 parts of 2 herbicides, 2,4,5-T and 2,4-D. In addition to its damaging environmental effects, traces of dioxin, mainly TCDD, the most toxic of its type, found in the mixture, have caused major health problems for many individuals who are exposed and their offspring. So
yeah, and you know, the harm it did was, you know, horrific to the Vietnamese. It also harmed our own troops. And you know, my father, who was a doctor in Vietnam, so he never was on front lines or anything, but he has had a friend or two that died later from cancer that they were almost certain was from Agent Orange, even though they weren't on the front lines. They were treating soldiers who had clothing covered in Agent Orange or whatever.
So that's the thing. It obviously, the goal was to just basically kill all of the jungle plant life so that the Viet Cong and the North Vietnamese couldn't hide because they were very good at jungle warfare. And so we just sprayed this thing that killed everything, and it killed our own soldiers in addition to the Vietnamese. It's hurt their environment. We're still today, and America spends a lot of money working with the Vietnamese to fix this. And of course, America's stance is very much like, yeah, but we're spending money to fix this. Like, you don't get a gold star for paying for the awful thing that you did. It's like, Lee, I came and I smashed up your house and I stole everything. But every day, Lee, I work to fix it. It's like, yeah, I could have not broken into your house.
Any day now, we're going to have it all fixed.
Yes. And you shouldn't go mad at me. I'm doing the right thing. No. I did the wrong thing. I got caught and now I'm having to pay for it. So
yeah.
But one of the things I wanted to go into first, I wanted to go into what Operation Ranch Hand was. So Operation Ranch Hand was the operation during Vietnam from 62 to 71. And it was largely inspired by the British's use of Agent Orange during the Malayan emergency of the 1950s, which I didn't know, but it's another time like imperialist colonizers messed with a third world country for resources. So I don't even know about what British.
We can never exhaust that list. So there's never a moment like I know all of the times imperial forces have destroyed native populations.
I got the one saving grace is anytime I do, I want to talk about Agent Orange, I realize, there's 3 or 4 separate episodes I could do now. We could do a whole segment on the British in Malaysia in the 1950s. We can talk, I mean, like it just spins off. There's like a layer of evil after evil after evil. So it was part of the overall herbicidal warfare program during the war called Operation Trail Dust. Ranch Hand involves spraying an estimated 19 million US gallons, which is 72,000 whatever meter gallons, whatever it's called, meters, metric somethings, of defoliant and herbicides.
Meter gallons.
Meter gallons. I
meter
apologize.
Gallons is amazing.
You want to taste some of my meter gallons? I apologize to our international audience.
Feet kilograms. Yeah.
Ounce of grams. It was
kilofeeters, I think.
Kilofeeters. I apologize for being raised in a country that demonized them. We tried to do the metric system in the 70s and 80s, and it was crushed. And the only thing Americans is 2-liter bottles of soda. That's all we know.
I love that. I can't remember which politician it was, but there was one politician who kind of staked his campaign on I'm going to switch to the metric system. And it was just so laughed at. Like all of America was like, you fucking European loser with your kilowatts. Like,
yeah. It's like, yeah, why would you want to use a more efficient system that'll help us in foreign and global trade? Like, dumb America. Well, America, let's be honest. America is the country. This is a famous story. So the quarter pounder, right, of the McDonald's very famous quarter pounder with cheese. In the 70s, I think, or 80s, when the quarter pounder would blow up, A&U, I believe it was A&W, had those drive-in stands. A&W they have a root beer, but they also had car hop stands where A&W sold burgers and fries and malts and stuff like that. So they tried a third pounder to say it's bigger, and Americans thought that the third pounder, they didn't know. They thought the third pounder was smaller.
Quarter pounder sounds pretty awesome compared to a third pounder.
No, it came down to, well, 4 is bigger than 3. So why would I buy the small third pound? Because it's one. Yeah. That's America.
So they were like, well, I guess we have to name it the double quarter pound, the twice the weight of the quarter pounder.
The heavier quarter pounder. What
the heavier quarter pounder plus weight.
The quarter pounder plus more at A&W. So I apologize to our foreign audience. This is what American public education is. You're going to have me say meter gallons. And you're going to have to say
meter gallons and kilofeet.
Kilofeet. So as I said, it was 19 million US gallons or 72,000 meter gallons of defoliants and herbicides over rural areas of South Vietnam in an attempt to deprive the Viet Cong of food and vegetation cover. Areas of Laos and Cambodia were also sprayed to a lesser extent. Nearly 20,000 sorties were flown between 1960 and 1971. The ranch handers' motto was, "Only you can prevent a forest." And
Jesus Christ.
Right.
Why not combine our fucking genocide we're perpetrating in like a fun kid slogan?
Yeah, and you know, I'm going to actually show you this. So this is from the Wikipedia page, but they took one of those. So for those of you who might not know, this was a Smokey the Bear campaign in the 50s and 60s and 70s, even 80s, of like, he would say, only you can prevent forest fires. So they took this educational tool that was to help kids learn about preventing forest fires, and then they did this. Only you can prevent a forest.
Jesus
that was what they did.
Christ.
And then there's what the planes
look like. First of all, I feel like that's copyright infringement. Secondly, I feel like you got to get Smokey to sign off on that.
Yeah. I think they went to Smokey like, look, friend, I don't want us to age back in your backyard. So why don't you just shut up and put your face on this poster?
Third, I feel like the response should be, only you can prevent imperialism.
So they, took a good PSA that helped me as a kid remember that. And anytime I ever went camping, I got to make sure we don't start a fire. And my parents would be like, remember what Smokey the Bear said? But in Vietnam, it was like, hey, remember, kids, this is how you destroy an economy and poison its people and our own soldiers. So
only you can poison the children of Vietnam.
God. During the 10 years of spraying over 5 million acres, which is 20,000.
Graham, you should probably just stop giving the other numbers. which is 20,000 kilograms.
It's 20,000 meter yards of forest, and 50,000 acres of crops were heavily damaged or destroyed. Around 20% of the forests of South Vietnam were sprayed at least once. Vietnam, by the way, is the size of about Massachusetts. Can
you translate Massachusetts into European measurements? The size of Cornwall.
It's the size of a kilo Cornwall. It's the size of a Wales a gram. It's the size of a Wales a gram.
The size of a footy stone. You know what's funny is, and where is it? In England, they actually say you weigh like something stone, right? So there they actually use something less, like something as stupid as our stuff.
Well, that's the beautiful thing about England. They try to outstupid us at every turn. I mean, they really try to outstupid us, and they've gotten close, but you can't outdumb America. We're the number one dumb. Like, that's something I take great pride in. the herbicides were sprayed by the U.S. Air Force. The planes were fitted specifically with specially developed spray tanks with a capacity of 1,000 U.S. gallons of herbicide. A plane sprayed a swath of land that was 80 meters wide and 16 kilometers.
No, don't. Just say meters.
Okay, sorry. It was 10 miles long. I'll just say it was. I'll just 10 miles long. And they did this, Lee, in about 4.5 minutes at a rate of 3 U.S. gallons per acre. And they usually consisted of 3 to 5 aircraft flying side by side. 95% of the herbicides and defoliants used in the war were sprayed by the U.S. Air Force as part of Operation Ranch Hand. The remaining 5% were sprayed by the U.S. Chemical Corps, which I didn't even had such a thing.
Oh my God. I did did we do a government secrets on? I think we did, but it was so long ago. It was about the chemical department, and in World War II, they were getting ready to like, they were, oh, maybe it was World War I, but they were amassing the tons of chemical. Oh, they came up with napalm and stuff, and they were getting ready to use it, and then the war ended, and they got upset that their victims had been stolen from them.
Yeah. It was produced, Agent Orange was produced by 9 chemical companies, including Dow Chemical, our good friends Monsanto, who've been bought by Bayer, and now they don't even use the name Monsanto. So Diamond Shamrock Corporation.
Monsanto was so toxic as a brand that they've been bought by a literal Nazi company that got its start during the Nazis, and that's better. People view that as less horrible.
Bayer, which was like, we covered it on the show. It was like doing, pharmaceutical Nazi research. Bought up Monsanto, and everyone was like, Bayer's a better name than Monsanto. Like, let's.
Bayer sounds like a good company. Yeah.
It does. Thomson Hayward Chemical, United States Rubber Company, Thompson Chemical Co., Hoffman Taft Chemicals, and Arja Select. The government of Vietnam says that 4 million people in Vietnam were exposed to the defoliant, and as many as 3 million people have suffered illnesses because of Agent Orange, while the Vietnamese Red Cross estimated up to 1 million people were disabled or have health problems as a result of exposure to Agent Orange. The United States describes these figures as unreliable. Oh, shut up, criminal. Like,
The CIA responded by saying none of that's true.
Yeah. If Jeffrey Dahmer was alive today, I really wouldn't care what his, hey, I didn't boil that many skulls. Like, I'm sorry, Jeff, you kind of lost,
It reminds me of when Israel came after Bernie Sanders because he said they had killed 500 Palestinian children or whatever. And I'm getting the numbers wrong, but they came back and they said, that is completely false. We've only killed 56 Palestinian children last year.
Right. Oh, so much better.
Okay. Great.
It's so
awesome.
I mean, the fact that them are only boiled and skull fucked, not as many victims. I rest easy. I sleep well knowing that it wasn't as bad as they say.
Yeah. Yeah.
The documented cases of leukemia, Hodgkin's lymphoma, and various kinds of cancer in exposed U.S. military veterans. An epidemiological study done by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention showed that there was an increase in the rate of birth defects of children of the military as a result of Agent Orange.
Yep.
Over 3.1 million hectares of forest were defoliated. Defoliants eroded tree cover and sending forest stock, making reforestation difficult in numerous areas. Animal species diversity is sharply reduced in contrast with unsprayed areas. And so there's a bunch of legal actions that have happened. But I want to go to this. Lee,
Yes.
It was not the first time the United States has used Agent Orange.
Really?
Yeah. They started using it in the 1940s. Do you want to know where?
Yeah.
It was produced in the United States from the late 1940s and was used in industrial agriculture and also sprayed along railroads and power lines to control undergrowth in forests. So we started using it in America. And
To do what?
you're just like, wait, how bad has this been and evil? We did it to we used it in industrial agriculture. So we've been using it since the 1940s here in the United States. So big industrial farms, and was also
to kill the Vietnamese on the farms.
No, we tested it on our own people. It was sprayed along railroads and power lines here in the United States to control undergrowth in forests.
Good.
So,
I mean, it had all gone so well in Vietnam. Why not bring it home?
well, no, we did that in the 1940s. We started it here. We started it here in the 1940s and then went, wow, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Might as well take it over to Vietnam and destroy a whole country and our own soldiers and 3 million of their citizens. How about,
I mean, it also shows how much our ruling elite give a shit about our soldiers. Like, I'm sure they knew that fucking hosing them down in this toxic chemical wouldn't be good, to say the least.
right.
But they don't care. They were cannon fodder to begin with.
They don't care. And this goes back to herbicides were developed as part of efforts by the United States and the United Kingdom to create herbicide weapons during World War II. In 1943, the United States Department of Army contracted botanist and biothist Arthur Galston, who discovered the defoliants used in Agent Orange, and his employer, University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, to study the effects of D4D and D4T on cereal grains, including rice and broadleaf crops. While a graduate and postgraduate student at the University of Illinois, Galston's research and dissertation focused on finding a chemical means to make soybeans, flour, and fruit earlier. He discovered that both the 2,3,5-triazoxalic acid, TIBA, would speed up the flowering of soybeans, and that in higher concentrations, it would defoliate the soybeans. From these studies arose the concept of using aerial applications of herbicides to destroy enemy crops to disrupt their food supply. In 1945, the U.S. Army ran tests of various 2,4-D and 2,4,5-T mixtures at the Bushnell Army Airfield in Florida. As a result, the U.S. began full-scale production and would have used it against Japan in 1946 during Operation Downfall if the war had continued. So we were set to use it in Japan, but we know from history.
I knew this would come back to Florida. I just knew it. There's no way this doesn't come back to Florida.
Florida has such a tangled web of problems that it's not surprised that Agent Orange was somehow involved. They were going to use this against Japan in 46, but instead of poisoning their crops and their citizens, and we just decided to drop a bomb that you showed on this program was not needed. So in the years after,
there was a big internal debate on which genocidal maniac fucking device to test on Japan.
Yeah. So we very lovingly didn't use the long-term one. We just used the big, awful one because this one with that one.
No, but the nuclear bombs created cancer in a lot of people as well.
Oh, okay, good. So great.
But I know you were worried about that.
I was worried. It's good to say that they're both toe-to-toe in creating ancillary cancer. In the years after the war, the United States realized Agent Orange was bad and never wanted to do it again, and it was used in Vietnam as a mistake. No, that's not what
The U.S. realized that it was horrible what they did, and they never did it again.
and everyone apologized, and
Apologies all around.
And the Vietnam War didn't happen because the CIA didn't kill Kennedy, and he made sure it didn't happen, and that's why. And that's why we're leading the way for peace, and we're all going on a trip to Ukraine because it's always been peace there, thanks to the United States. The U.S. after the World War II tested 1,100 compounds, and field trials of more promising ones were done at British stations in Australia. Yay, Britain! In order to establish their effects in tropical conditions, as well as the U.S. testing ground in Florida. Between 1950 and 1952, trials were conducted in a bunch of Tanganyika.
Explains a lot.
Yes, right.
Explains a lot.
And they tested this in all of these foreign places. And during 1952 to 53, the unit supervised aerial spraying in Kenya to assess the value of defoliants in eradication of the tsetse fly. I'm sure, yeah. So it's again, it started way before, and we tested it. We used it just in agriculture. We used it to clear away for rail lines, and we tested it on our own military in Florida in the 50s, and we tested it in other poor countries. So
also, it is you can find it in moderate amounts in Frosted Flakes. No, I'm just kidding.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah,
I'm just kidding, but it would surprise me. They found out it was tangy, you know.
Yeah, if that were to happen and they found out, which we're not saying it is, we're just joking. But if they found out there was something in Frosted Flakes that was like arsenic or whatever these 4D chemicals or tea, whatever, they would go, ooh, maybe we should start spreading. Then they're going to start, dropping Frosted Flakes over Venezuela or whatever country won't give us their resources.
Yep.
So that's the United States' rich, long history of Agent Orange. United States, the champion of murder.
Oh, well done, man. I think we did some good work here.
I think we did as well.
We've revealed U.S. war crimes of yesterday and of today.
We like to celebrate the past, but I also want to celebrate what's happening today. Like we just found out that Joe Biden and his staff lied and committed an act of war that is potentially putting the entire human race at risk of extinction. So we really thank you, Joe Biden. And this is one of the reasons me personally was not dancing in the streets when he became president. Weird. Yeah. I was glad Trump was gone, but then we replaced one fascist with another. So, and folks, we have a new bonus segment on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/government secrets. It is This Week in Government Secrets. It is there. It'll be up in a couple minutes. Please sign up. We appreciate you joining. And I've got some tour dates coming up here. I'm going to be in Maui. That ticket link is going to be up in Maui. Actually, that ticket link is up on Maui, April 27th. And I'll be at Kona and Oahu, April 28th and 29th. Those ticket links will be up soon. And I have a ticket link that is currently up for Phoenix on May 11th. And I will have the Tucson ticket link up May 12th. More shows, more tickets. And in late April, we'll be doing a live, anything can happen in front of a live audience. And it'll be available as a paid live stream. We're pitching that game show that Lee and Eleanor have been on. So stay tuned for that. Sign up to my newsletter at grahamelwood.com and like and subscribe to everything that I'm doing.
Dude, your tour sounds amazing. It's like I'll be playing the British Virgin Islands and then Rio de Janeiro, and then that, the fake Palm Tree Island in Dubai. I'll be playing that on Tuesday.
I just figure, why not do shows where it's awesome, so
I hear you. Not a lot of Lubbock, Texas on your tour dates. Why is that?
not yet. I will eventually go to Lubbock, and thank you to all our fans in Lubbock. I will be there soon.
Well, folks, I have lots of good stuff at leecamp.net. New episode of Most Censored News, where I reveal the top 10 ways you know that the United States is a rogue nation out of step with the entire world. So check that out. It's all at leecamp.net. And and I actually have 3 podcasts. There's this one, Government Secrets, then there's Common Censored, and then there's Moment of Clarity, although Spotify banned me, so now I've renamed it The Lee Camp Show.
God, what is there a platform you haven't been banned on? I mean,
I have a LinkedIn Live hour that actually is running pretty strong. I'm actually one of the top live streams on Friendster. So,
oh no, Friendster is great. My Friendster audience is just blowing up. That was funny. I mean, I shouldn't talk. I can't live stream on TikTok anymore.
wait, what did they? Because we said the word Nazi.
Yeah, we were live streaming this show on TikTok, and we talked about Nazis being bad, and they just said you can't say that word.
They just said you cannot say Nazis are bad.
They're not all bad guys. It's a stereotype. Come on, you guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, we should total up all of the platforms you and I have been variously banned on, and just list them as the credits roll. These are where you can't watch these guys. It's just.
Yeah, one time when I was talking to Chris Hedges, I was like, oh, Chris, you've been banned from 3 separate major outlets, 2 of them because what you were saying, and I was with you on both of these. I was with you at both of these outlets because what you were saying got the entire outlet banned, like destroyed. Truth Dig and RT America. And I was with him on both of those. And on both of those, we were some of the main reasons that it got banned. But he also, of course, was pushed out at the New York Times. That didn't destroy their outlet. But he then goes, well, yeah, Lee, you're forgetting one. I was also at Telesaur before they made that. They sanctioned Telesaur into oblivion in the United States. It still exists, but yeah.
Well, I just had Chris Hedges on my show, so I haven't had any deplatforming fallout yet, but you never know. So if you want to watch my interview with Chris Hedges, go to my YouTube channel for Political Vigilante, and you can see the Hedges interview before it gets taken away.
Yeah, before it gets erased. All right, man. Well, thanks a lot.
Thank you, everybody. This has been Government Secrets episode 112. Nordstream Truth and Agent Orange Rich Fabulous History.
1,000 feet hours of solid content.
Hectofeet of whatever.
Inch fathoms up your buttocks.
Inch fathoms. Oh, man. I picked up an inch fathom hiking through the jungle. Anyway, buddy, thank you.
Later.
All right, bye. Lee Cab, everybody. Thank you for celebrating our show. That's right. All right. Thank you, everybody watching. Hit the like button, share it out on your social media. Again, if you're a Lee Camp subscriber, please subscribe to my channel. And if you're subscribe to my channel, make sure you subscribe to Lee's. I know a lot of you subscribe to both of us, but it helps when, you guys, the analytics help our show very much. And of course, if you're listening, give it a positive review and all that stuff. So we appreciate everybody. If you go on over to patreon.com/government secrets, you can see there's the link right there. You can get bonus content for as little as $5 a month. There are 24, soon to be 25. I'm going to put the 25th bonus segment up on Patreon right now. And you get the catalog of, once you join, you get to see everything that's on the Patreon. So it's a great way to support what we're doing. We really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Thank you, everybody in the chat. My hair looks great. Thank you so much. You guys are great in the chat. I appreciate Blaze Saber Wolf and Holly Horn for being our moderators. And it is good times for everybody. And again, I'll be releasing more tour dates. So get a ticket to the show. It very much helps what I'm doing. The more people that buy tickets to the live shows, the more live shows I do. So I really appreciate it. And you get it. It's a fun night out. Thanks everybody for watching, and we will see you. I will be live again Monday afternoon. So have a great weekend. And of course, Government Secrets every Thursday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 o'clock Eastern. Thanks, everybody.